Hello, soulmates. Welcome to class. This is a picture of what you're going to be learning in this class. If this is what you want, it's quite simple and straightforward. Stay to the end. Okay, so here we're going to be concentrating on the back yoke. This is the back bodice, and I believe that you possibly have drafted your back bodice. Arm shoulder drop down is 1 inch, neckline is 1 inch. Okay, the width of the neckline is 3 inches, just the basic bodice, and this is our armhole. Okay, so I believe you must have done this on a paper so that it will be easier for you to draft and make amendments where necessary. So the concentration is on the yoke part. You can see where the yoke part is, that is from the armhole line to the shoulder line. So we're going to be doing exactly what you saw on the picture. Now the part that will be covered is towards the armhole, while the center back will be kind of open. So if you don't want it to be too wide, you're going to shift your hand towards the center back. And if you want it to be too wide, you're also going to shift your hand towards the armhole line so that it becomes very wide. Okay, so from the center back, I'm going to mark where my um, line is going to be starting from, where the curve is going to be starting from, where the keyhole, you can also call it a keyhole, the first keyhole, or all of them are going to be starting from. So I decided to do it before the dart line. This will make it wide, but if you want it to be very covered, you can start from the dart line, and that will also help you to know where to sew when you start joining. So from the armhole line, I'm going to be marking, I marked 2 inches, right? That is how open the first yoke is going to be, right? That is how open I want it to be. So from the 2 inches, now before you do this, you need to measure very well so that each part is not going to be bigger or wider than the next part. So here I've calculated what I want to do. The first line I marked 2 inches above, then another 1 inch, which is where I'm going to have the yoke, right? So from this 1 inch now, measure another 2 inches. If 2 inches is quite big, you can do 1.75, right? Now after that, I'm going to mark another 1 inch. This is where the second yoke is going to be. Okay, and then after that, I'm going to mark the last yoke, the last opening for the upper part. So here I also marked, this is around 1.75, so that everything becomes equal, and the last one is 1 inch, making it the third yoke. I hope you're understanding what I'm saying. From the first line, 2 inches or 1.75 depending on the calculation, then another 1 inch, then another 1.75, then another 1 inch, just like that till the end. So from where I marked where my yoke is going to be starting, I'll connect it to the 1.75 for 2 inches that I marked from the first armhole line. Okay, now the second line, which is the 1 inch, I'm not going to be touching it. Now what I'm going to do is to rule a straight line, because all of them are going to be starting on the same straight line, so that no one will be deeper or smaller than the other. Okay, so I'm going to just make sure that the line is straight and accurate. That's why I'm using my tape, to make sure that what I have below is what I'm going to be having at the upper part. I hope someone is understanding what we are talking about. So I'm going to rule a straight line from the armhole line down to the shoulder line. Okay, so if you have any question in the comment section, do well to ask. So this is where the wideness of the yoke is going to be starting from for the three of them. The first one has already been taken care of. We're moving over to the second one, the first yoke for the first one, and then the second opening for the second yoke. So now that I've marked this, don't mind my English, this is the 1 inch for first yoke. Okay, you can also decide to do it reverse. The yoke becomes bigger than the opening. Okay, so what I have from armhole to the first 1 inch, that is what I marked here so that I can get it on a straight line. You can see, yeah. So we're connecting it to the next 1.75 that we have. I think what I did was 1.75 so that it's equal. If I do it 2 inches, it might not be equal. One will be smaller. So from this 1 inch, I'm connecting to the next opening 1.75. So after that one, the next one, I'm going to start from the next 1 inch. You can see it starting from the next 1 inch, and I'll connect to this line as well and connect it back to the opening of the 1.75. I hope this is clear enough. I hope this is understandable enough. I hope if you don't understand, please watch the video again so that you'll be able to understand. So this part will go off, this part will go off. You can see the places I shaded are going off. The places I shaded are going off. You can see the way. So now I can clean the line since I have everything on equal line, right? Like so and like so. So these parts that are wider are the parts that will go out. The other parts connecting to the yoke is going to stay. It is quite simple. Now I can tighten my back dart by 0.25 on both sides of the dart, 0.25 on both sides of the dart so that the back is not um, feeling so loose. Okay, so at this point, if you've not subscribed to our channel, please try and subscribe. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much. Okay, so we're going to cut it right now, and we cut out the yoke so that we can use it to cut on our lace. I hope someone understands how this is done. Please watch till the end so that you kindly and effortlessly and simply understand what is happening here. Now for the back, I'm just going to slant it down by 0.25 so that the neckline will not be pointy for the back. Like I said, the concentration here is on the yoke, but I just have to show us this part as well. It's part of the tutorial though. So I'm slanting by 0.25 so that it just stays on the normal, the way it's supposed to be instead of shooting out. That's not the style. Okay, so this is the back, we're done with it. And then the yoke, we're going to cut it out. Now you can just simply watch and see how this part is going to be cut out so that you understand what we actually did on this part. You can see the parts that I'm leaving, the 1 inch, I'm going to be leaving it. Now the ones inside the circle are the parts that I'm going to be cutting off. I know why I'm doing this slowly so that someone who could not understand the drawing can at least understand this part now. Okay, so this part is going to go out, and then we'll jump also after the next 1 inch, and we are going to be cutting it out as well. I hope you're learning something from this tutorial, and I know you're going to put it into practice. If you don't practice it, you'll not be able to get it. So you see the parts that will be going out right now. This part is going out. Okay, so this is our yoke. This is what we have, and we're going to place it on our fabric. We're using a lace fabric, So we're going to be placing it on the fabric and cutting it just the way it is. Okay, just the way it is. That's how we are going to be cutting it. For this is the yoke for the back upper part. This is how we cut the yoke. Now what I'm going to do, you know that it's going to be two. You can decide to cut it separately. You can decide to put the two of them together if your fabric will be enough for it. So this is what I will do. I'm going to place it. This is on fold. I'm going to place it like so and cut, adding my sewing allowance in between here. I'm going to add sewing allowance, but not up to half an inch. 0.25 is enough. We're not going to drag it much. 0.25 on these lines, right? Then half an inch on the neckline, 0.25. Then shoulders and this part, half an inch is what I'm going to add. So I'm going to pin it down now and we cut it. So this is it here. It's two for the back. Now to maintain this feel of the net, the transparency, I'm going to be using this net as what I'll use to turn it, right? Instead of using doubling the net, it's going to make it too thick. So I just want to keep it looking the transparent lace that it is. I will use the net to turn it. So I'm going to cut this net the same way I've cut this. I'll fold it into two, just one for one part, one for the other part. I'll fold it into two and place this on top of it and cut it just the way I've cut this, so I can use it to turn these edges. Okay. You just need to patiently watch this video, watch the cutting, so that you'll be able to do yours the same way. Now, like I said before, the net is, I've used this method so many times before now. The net is, you can use it for any kind of yoke, even when you do not want to use a bias, or without, instead of using a bias, sorry, instead of using a bias or making your neckline thick, you can actually use this method to use your net to turn any neckline that you want. It maintains this the effect of the lace on the bodice without making it bulky. Okay, so this is what we have. The net has been cut the way the lace is, and I'm going to place it on top of it and sew. We're sewing right side to right side so that we turn it inside out. Okay, so I'm just going to place it the same, the normal way you sew your neckline and the yoke or whatever. Just sew in between the lines. I think I did not show the sewing here, so just sew it, and I'm going to demonstrate how it's going to be sewn. So net facing the right side of the net, you can see the way my hand is going. That's how you're going to sew it. Yeah, the way my hand is going, that's how you're going to sew it, from the neckline down to in between and down to where the yoke is. So you can see the way it's sewn, and this is what we came out with. Now the next picture,